Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Franchise Hockey Manager 9 playthrough of the Chicago Blackhawks. We are about to begin the 2027 to 2028 season after missing playoffs each of the last 2 years, actually. The Blackhawks were by at least one prognosticator predicted to be a serious contender for the Stanley Cup Championship this year. So hopefully that will prove to be accurate because I feel like we really want to have a good season with this team. Made a few changes to our roster during the off season. Highlight those quickly for you before we jump in. And before we jump in, also would appreciate if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. Would sincerely appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, like our videos, comment down below, let us know what you're thinking. Always appreciate all the interaction and advice and debate with the viewers of this and all of our different series here on Old School Sports. So with that behind us, jump in to take a look at the changes to our roster. Jesper Wallstat, who we traded away 2 number ones for to become our top goalie last off season, is back as our number 1 goalie. We've also signed him to a lucrative extension, so he will be our number 1 netminder for the foreseeable future. And then we did recently pick up Philip Svedabak, who was waived by the Bruins. Thought that he was a better backup, a little younger and a little more potential than Jakub Skarek, who we previously had as our backup for the past few seasons. So we brought Svedabak on board. Our defensemen largely similar to a year ago. The one change is that Luke Coughlin, who we drafted number 16 overall in 2023, our first draft with the Blackhawks. Picked him in the first round, number 16 overall. He will be making his NHL debut as a member of our defensive core. Left wing, this is where we made one of our only free agent acquisitions, brought on Yegor Sharangovich to hopefully be a pretty solid professional left winger for us, likely play the certainly not the first line. That's where Victor Eklund, the promising rookie from last season, is going to be playing. Sharangovich, we were thinking might be a third or fourth line guy for us. But with Paul Cotter and Gavin Hayes, the 2 other left wingers we have on the team, it's possible that Sharangovich will also be playing on the second line at times. We'll be figuring all that out as we move forward with the season. Center, no big changes there. Another good rookie from last year, Nathan Villeneuve, back. Hopefully we'll get even more playing time this year. And Mathis Dubé, former draft pick of ours a few years ago, is also going to be making his NHL debut. And then at right wing, similar crew to last year with the addition of Will Shields, a 21-year-old who we did sign through free agency. I believe he was a former third-round draft choice by the Leafs, and they decided to move on from him, so we're going to give him a shot. So a few new youngsters and a few other youngsters going to start kind of growing up in the organization with us. You know, you look at the age of the team, we've got 5 guys on the wrong side of 30 now, most notably in terms of production, Mitch Marner and Dylan Larkin, our top 2 offensive players. But you can see we have got a lot of players on this team, 25 and younger. So think that we can take a big step forward from last year, given the quality and the depth of youth that we have. But now it's going to be a matter of actually proving it on the ice. And the young season is off to a decent 3-2 start for the Blackhawks. We've won home games against the Flyers and the Senators. On the road, we won 1 out of 3 games at St. Louis, although we did lose to the Wild as well as the Ducks. Rest of the month only have 1 home game left against Dallas, and then we'll be on the road at Seattle, at Nashville, back-to-back next Thursday and Friday, and then finish up at Anaheim again. So hopefully, you know, we can get out of the month with a 5-4 record, which would mean we go 2-2 over these last four. But if we can have a 5-4 record with only 3 games at home, would view that as a pretty successful start to the season for the Blackhawks. And we ended up doing even better than hoped over those final 4 games of October. Shut out Dallas behind starting goaltender Jesper Wellstedt. Lost a game 7-4 at Seattle, but then we won on the back-to-back nights at Nashville behind our backup goaltender. Another 3-0 shutout on the road, and then a 3-2 win on the road at Anaheim to finish up the month. So taking a look at the standings, 6-3 record, tied for first place with the Wild in the Central Division. Given that we had only 3 home games over the course of the month of October, would view that as a pretty good start to the season. You can see both Wallstat and Svedback, our starting goalie and our backup goalie, are all over the league leaders. I don't have anyone who's having a real dynamic offensive season at this point, but there's hopefully plenty of time for that to change as well. Moving on to some of the business side of things. Not surprising to have guys like Marner, Hughes, and Larkin as our top-selling jerseys, along with our goaltender Wallstat. And then the new addition, Will Shields, who has just 1 assist in his first 5 games, but seems to be popular with the fans. Taking a look at the development report, really nice to see this here. A lot of the young players on the team had really good development from the month of October. Coughlin improving his screening, Eklund shooting accuracy and hitting, Rinzel bravery, Will Shields improving his passing, Villeneuve improving his professionalism as his shooting range. So really good to see that the investments that we've made in some of the younger players paying off at the NHL level. And taking a look at team attendance, no surprise, sold out all 3 of our home games. So as we work on the monthly budget here, we can probably pare back game promotions to not need to get the bonus since we're selling out already. It'll save us just a couple of points, but those may be able to be invested in something more useful down the line. You can see we're doing full investment in scouting, full investment in team morale. Hopefully the scouting will pay off eventually, although we still do not have our number 1 pick at the end of this year, given that we used it about a year and a half ago to bring Wallstat on board. But after that, we'll be back to having our own number 1 picks unless we do something interesting in the trade market over the course of this season. And team harmony, really good at this point, early stages of the season, obviously. Job security still strong, making a little progress in fan happiness. Started at 41 at the beginning of the season, so with the 6-3 start, we're up to 45. So hopefully turning the fans back onto our side a bit with a better performance so far. Team is generally, still healthy. 2 to 3 wings away from Alex Formenton potentially bringing back, in which case we'll probably have to make a decision on one of the younger forwards on our team. And as November begins, ownership is satisfied with our performance so far. Says that replacing us remains out of the question, which is good. Fans are still split on our performance. Hopefully a continued strong season on the ice will help get some of them back onto our side. Taking a look at the schedule for the month of November, you can see we've got a lot more home games this month. 7 games on the home ice and 5 on the road this month. So hopefully it'll be an opportunity for us to continue to build on this nice start we've had with the Blackhawks here in the 27-28 season. And we got a 6-1 win against the Bruins to start off the month of November, which was very positive. Excuse me. Sam Rinzel has a strained calf that's going to impact him for about 2 to 3 weeks. Certainly not going to delay treatment on that and make it something he's got to deal with for the long term. We will just get him onto the IL for the next couple of weeks. Look down to the AHL for some help. Dylan Larkin with a hat trick and an assist in that 6-1 victory against the Bruins yesterday. And we are getting closer and closer to a potential return from Mr. Formenton, although it still looks like he's about 2 to 3 weeks away. So probably not till the end of the month will we have him back in the lineup regularly. And some good news that both Formenton and Rinzel are ready to return to practice, so that is good to see. Only played 2 games so far this month, the win against Boston, and then we lost at home 5-3 on Saturday against Winnipeg. Got another home game today against the Blues, rivalry game. Certainly hope to get the W at home before we go on the road for back-to-back games this upcoming Saturday and Sunday in California. And we did get the win at home against St. Louis yesterday, 3-2, which is positive. Unfortunately, Quinn Hughes got a hyperextended ankle. Going to bang him up for 1 to 2 weeks. Certainly not the type of thing we're going to delay treatment on. We will just get him right on to the IL. Not an optimal situation right now to have 2 starting defensemen in Rinzel and Hughes on the IL, but you can see at this point neither of those looks to be a long-time issue, so might as well just get it taken care of and ensure that both of them are healthy for the long term. And the season continues to get off to a real nice start for the Blackhawks. We won those back-to-back games on the road at the Sharks and at the Kings. So record standing at 10-4 here, 14 games into the season. Unfortunately, the blue line continues to get hit by injuries. David Jaracek with a little bit more serious of an injury, out with a PCL strain for the next 1 to 2 months. So he's going to go on the IL right now. As we've talked about in the past, we still have Rinzel and Hughes on the IL. So 3 of our starting blue liners are on the IL. At this point, in the past, we brought up Wilsby, the 27-year-old who's been with us off and on over the last few seasons, as well as the youngster Titan Buksowski, who started the season in the AHL for us after we signed him as a free agent and has now come up. So hopefully we can piece things together with those guys. But outside of Rasmus Anderson and then the veteran Wilsby, we've got a 21-year-old in Buksowski, 22-year-olds in Coughlin and Rotundi, and a 23-year-old in Korchinski manning the blue line for the Blackhawks here for at least the next couple of games. And as we get closer to the end of November, Blackhawks been playing about 500 hockey since we last checked in. Lost games at home against Vegas and the Devils. Then we did win 3 in a row at home against the Blue Jackets, on the road at Colorado and at St. Louis. But we just lost a game against Winnipeg on the 28th of November. 1 home game left this month against the Wild tomorrow. Unfortunately, did have some more significant injury news. The good news has been that we have gotten Quinn Hughes, Sam Rinzel, got some of our defensemen back. Formenton is close to getting back, which, as you'll see, is very positive because we did just lose the really good young left winger Victor Eklund, going to be out for about 9 weeks with a herniated disc. He's having a pretty nice follow-up to his rookie season, 13 points, including 6 goals in his first 20 games. So still has been a productive offensive player for us, but we'll have to get by without him for the next couple of months. So hopefully Formenton will be back pretty soon. And unfortunately, we did lose that game against the Wild to close out the month. So not as good a month as we would have hoped. We were 6-3, as you know, in October. So that means we were 7-5 in November. So still a positive month and a positive record. But you can see we're kind of a wild card spot in the Western Conference at this point, despite the good start to our season with 26 points in our first 21 games. And we've started to try to give some additional playing time to the youngster Mathis Dubé. He's been pretty productive for us, and he's also getting some playing time at left wing now in addition to center. Only 11 games, but does have 4 points and +1 in minimal ice time in those games. One thing that we have started doing more recently is when we look at our roster, we've been playing Bo Horvat a little less frequently. His game scores are not good. As we talked about in our last episode, he's 32, soon to be 33. Unlikely to bring him back next year. And he still hasn't been an extremely productive offensive player with 5 points in 17 games for us. So to ensure that young guys like Dubé and Will Shields and Frank Nazar are getting in the lineup on a, I don't want to say somewhat regular basis, but are getting some playing time. I think at this point the veteran Horvat is a guy who may be seeing less and less ice time as the season moves along. And taking a look at our development report for November, Coughlin improved his professionalism, Hayes improved his hitting, and a really good development month for Rotundi, improving his strength, his leadership, and his positioning. So continue to make some progress with some of the younger players and the investments that we've been making in their development. And December is going to be a pretty important month for the Blackhawks. 9 home games, so that's going to be pretty important for us to do well. And you can see we got back-to-backs, 3 straight weeks on the road at Dallas and Winnipeg, on the road at Edmonton and the Kings, and then on the road at Montreal and the Islanders. So going to be a challenging month for Chicago, but hopefully we can make the most of it in the month of December. And before we finish off the episode, we'll take a look at our top performers so far. Not surprisingly, Dylan Larkin, our most dynamic offensive player, 12 goals, 12 assists, leads the team with those 12 goals and his 24 points. The addition of Sharangovich has been pretty positive for us as a left winger, second on the team, tied with 18 points, second on the team with 8 goals, and he's been +6 on the year. The young center, Nathan Villeneuve, also +6 on the year with 6 goals and 12 assists. Quinn Hughes, the excellent defenseman, +10 on the year. Korchinski, +7, manning the blue line. Paginaimi has been productive offensively, 12 points, including 4 goals in 19 games. He's +9 on the year. And Will Shields, the youngster who we signed as a free agent, only 1 goal, but does have 12 points in his first 13 games. Captain Mitch Marner has been disappointing offensively, just 1 goal in 21 games. Does have 10 assists, but is a -7. He's been probably the biggest disappointment on the team. Not a ton of offense from Konechny or Cotter. Rinzel, the young defenseman, continues to be a pretty good sniper for a defenseman with 4 goals in 13 games after he scored 19 as a rookie last year. Cole Sillinger, also 4 goals Rasmus Anderson, the veteran defenseman, only 6 points in 21 games, but is +5. Horvat, we've talked about, has been -1. Probably will be seeing somewhat less playing time as the season moves on. Luke Coughlin, the young defenseman, 5 points, -3 thus far through 15 games. Dubé, we talked about a guy we'd like to see a little more playing time. Does have 2 goals on the young season, same as the young defenseman Matteo Rotundi with 2 goals and 2 assists on the year. Gavin Hayes, I'd say, has been disappointing offensively without a goal in 18 games. Frank Nazar also having a bit of a disappointing year after he played all 82 games for us last year. Have started to remove him from the lineup from time to time. You can see he's played only 14 of our 21 games at this point, and he hasn't been all that productive with just 3 points and a -3 while being on the ice. Willsby probably will be losing his roster spot shortly when Juracek comes back in a couple of weeks and won't be playing all that much the rest of the time, given that he definitely qualifies as our 7th defenseman at this point. And then Formenton hasn't played yet. He was not quite at 100% for that last game of November. But clearly now, with the injury to Eklund, Formenton will be getting some pretty significant time going forward on the ice. And take a quick look at the netminders to the new backup. Svedabak has played 5 games, 3-1 record with 1 shutout, 242 goals against, and a .929 save percentage. So feel pretty confident that he's done as well and likely better than what we would have gotten from Skarek if we hadn't moved on from him when Svedback was available on waivers. So think that was still a good long-term move for the Blackhawks. And then Wallstedt, 10-7 record, also has 1 shutout, 289 goals against, a little worse than a year ago, .918 save percentage, a little better than a year ago. Certainly expect that he is going to be our #1 goaltender for many years to come. So it's been a respectable start to the year for the Blackhawks, 13-8, certainly a solid record. Would hope that we'd be in a little better position as far as the standings, but you can see there's been 6 teams off to pretty decent above 500 starts here in the Central Division. That will probably change as time goes on. Hopefully we can be one of the team that continues to win, because as I mentioned, we've got a important month of December coming up in our next episode with a lot of home games, and we will find out how we do in those games in that next episode. Until then, would love to hear your thoughts on how the season is going down below, what we could do differently, and until our next episode, hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching.